Good morning, or afternoon now, but wherever you are in the world, right? It might be your morning, your evening. We are with Comfort Woods today. Comfort is. Are you on the west coast of the United States?
Yes, I'm in Washington State.
You're in Washington State. Okay. So, Comfort is a personal empowerment coach. She's at comfortcoaching.net if you want to go find her. She's also on Instagram and Facebook under Comfort Coaching. So, Comfort, what question do you have for me? Like, what burning question do you have for me?
Well, it's more of a feeling really.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been keeping very, very busy with a lot of things and having trouble bringing my energy back to my own business, especially in the realm of online marketing and self-promotion, and all of that is fairly new to me.
Yep.
I'm an experienced educator, and so educating and doing the work of being an actual coach is my wheelhouse. It's where I feel it's where I feel strongest. But the other side of it, the whole back end of the business side of it is it's all fairly new to me. And uh so I guess my question is what is the best what is the best attitude I can bring forward? What are the things I can keep in mind to help me be successful in this realm?
That's actually a really fascinating question. I am also a retired educator. I was an educator for 12 years. I was an middle school and secondary educator, like a secondary high school English teacher for like 12 years. And then I
Oh,
switched
that's awesome.
I switched to go into social work, and now I'm doing this like intuitive stuff. And I sort of resonate with your question too, because it's that like, how do you do the back end stuff? I got the front end stuff easy. It's the back end stuff that's difficult. So
Exactly. I love middle school. That's great.
yeah, I love me a middle schooler. Yeah,
It's so awkward.
they're so awkward and they're so blunt. Like they haven't learned the finesse that a high schooler has. There's just something about them.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
so let me feel into this for you. And I feel like you have a bigger support network than you think you have. I think there are a number of people in your life that you could easily turn to and say,
I think
"Hey,
it's
coach,
frozen.
did it
Oh, there
freeze?"
we
Okay.
go. For a moment. Now I can hear you.
Okay. I think there are a number, sorry about that. Let me know if that happens again. I
Okay.
think there are a number of people in your life that have the skill sets that you need and the skill sets you need to grow. And I think if you went to them and just plain out asked me, like, coach me or teach me or show me, like, just spend an hour with me, tell me what to do, I think they would give you more than an hour of their time. I think
Mm,
there are a number of people in your life who know how to do what you need to know. And there's been the word that popped in when you first said, "What is the feeling I should have?" The word that popped in that is the problem for you, this seems to be coming up a lot, is resistance.
mhm,
Do you know what resistance is? I can explain. It's simple. Resistance is that feeling of stepping into the unknown, and then you have that like boundary pushback where you hit the an invisible wall, if you will, about something that stops you from moving forward into that. So resistance could be around, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not qualified to do this. Who said I can do this? Or this is a task that feels beyond me and I don't even know how to do this, and so I'm just like going to back off. And then it keeps you small. Resistance is what keeps you small.
I think it's that last one that is the one I'm feeling because I already moved through all the imposter syndrome and have gotten a lot of feedback and positive feedback and praise for the work that I've already done so far. Um, so I am convinced that the work I'm doing, and I didn't really mention this earlier, but my work is I'm a personal empowerment coach. So what I do is I help women who have survived emotionally abusive situations to find their voice and communicate assertively
Yeah,
and learn how to make boundaries.
that's
So I've been
beautiful.
through it myself. So I want to be able to share it with women who've been in the same situation that I've been in and share what I've learned. You know,
No,
so
that's
that's what
amazing.
I'm working on doing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm confident in my ability to connect with women on that level. It's the other part. It's the not knowing exactly where to start and what to do next, or knowing what to do next and not really knowing how.
How to do it. Right.
Um,
So when I was
yeah,
saying what to do, I didn't mean in the job sense. I meant in like the
mhm,
marketing sense, in the how do you
exactly.
grow sense. How do you take the building blocks that you're supposed to get in a business degree that you didn't necessarily get in a business degree, right? Like how do you create those without like recreating a wheel or creating a bad wheel, like a square wheel, because that's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you create the wheel that's actually going to work for you? And I feel like there are a number of businessy people in your life who are resources for you. So that when that resistance wall of like, I don't know what I'm doing in the business sense, not in the connection sense. Yes, you've got that. I feel like the connection sense is like really strong. It's the like, how do I make this grow sense that needs more grow, right? It needs more growth. Um, so the other thing, and I know you know this, so I'll just say this again, your subconscious has a
Mhm,
job. Your subconscious has one job, and that job is to keep you safe. And so as you're
mhm,
pressing into a land that's not your land, right? Like you've been in land that's your land that you were like trained to be in, and then like you brought yourself through it and you knew what it was, and now you're stepping on land that's like foreign soil for you. Your subconscious is like, I'm sorry, I don't recognize any of this. This is not safe. And so it also wants to stop you because your subconscious has one job and that's to keep you alive. And so if you're standing on foreign soil, it's like, I don't like this land. Can we go back to land we know? And
mhm,
so it's not imposter syndrome in the sense that you can't do the job. It's more what are the nuts and tools and bolts and like that you need to pull together to create this world you're trying to create.
mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And like, you've been through the whole teacher training process, you've been an educator, you know how it works being in a school setting.
Mhm.
It's very organized and very hierarchical. So you don't really have to think about what to do as much. You're kind of told what to do a lot of the time.
Yep.
And you become really, really good at doing the things that you know you're supposed to do. But then when you're on your own, starting your own business and there's nobody around to tell you what to do anymore, um, that's when it can get really tricky. And it's funny because I bring that up to my students all the time. Um, I still work as a substitute teacher.
Okay.
So yeah, so I tell my middle school students, what do you think you would do if there was no one around to tell you what to do? If your parents weren't around to tell you to do your chores, if there's no one around to tell you to clean your laundry or, clean your room or anything, if there's no
Or do your
teachers telling you what to
homework
learn.
or
Yeah,
make yourself
exactly.
your lunch, right? Like would
Yep.
you have lunch when you came to school the next day? Would you even get to school the next day if you didn't have parents around to tell you what to do?
Exactly, and I remind them that, "Hey, you're growing up and you're not going to have people around to tell you what to do forever, or at least you're gonna have more of a choice in the matter, so what are you going to choose to do?" And it's funny because, yeah, I have a master's degree, so I've gone through all the many years
Yep.
of academia of having various assignments presented to me and various, jobs to do that are given to me by someone else, and I'm really good at doing all of that. And, I'm good at having a curriculum to work with, to assign things to other people. And I'm pretty good. I created a pretty solid program that I'm really excited about.
Of
But
course.
yeah, in the realm of promoting it and having, yeah, I think you're right. Just finding people to guide me and help me figure out exactly what to do in that realm. And it's going to be more a matter of seeking that out.
Agreed. Yep. Because
Hmm.
this isn't something that people are just going to walk up to you and say, "Hey, this is what you need." This is a matter of like walking up to people and saying, "Hey, this is what I need. Are you willing to help me?"
Hmm.
And I mean, there are business coaches out there that you can pay lots and lots of money to work with. But
Hmm.
if there's like a somebody in your life, and I feel like there are people in your life who will give you different kinds of assignments. Like one person, I think there's more than one person. I think there's like two or three people who are really good with social media, and I think that there's
Hmm.
like and I want to say it's sort of like a father figure in your life who's really good at like the business plan. What is the business plan? What does that look like? How do you create that? I feel like you've got at least one person of an elderly male in your family or in your life who is like good with the idea of making a plan.
You're good. My father is a business owner.
Yeah. And so even just walking in and asking him the nuts and bolts of like, what does it look day to day? Like, how do you know how to do this? And how do you promote what you've got going on? And how do people know how to find you?
Mhm.
And the fact that he has a brick and mortar store can be really work to your advantage, because then you can be like, hey, I'm putting together a special class, or I'm putting together a special deal. Can I put a flyer
Mhm.
on your counter?
Right, right, right.
Right? And then he's like, sure. And he's probably like, I don't know. I don't know if I like it, but okay, it's my daughter. So of course I'm gonna put her flyer on my counter, right? And so then you
So
have
enthusiastic.
what'd you say?
I said, "Oh, so enthusiastic." I
Yeah, well, yeah.
guess.
I don't know. I mean, he might be like, yeah, but there might be another part of him that's like, I don't know. People might ask me things, and I'm not going to be able to say anything about it, right? Um, and
Yeah.
so you put a flyer on on his counter, and it becomes like, oh, his daughter is doing this thing, right?
Mhm.
And so you have that opportunity as well, as to get your name out there, by having that exposure from your dad already owning a business. But yeah,
Mhm.
you have, and I feel okay. So you've got the business plan guy, and you've got two or three people who are really great with social media,
Mhm.
and I feel like a lot of it is just being brave and like
Yeah.
getting over the stuff that you just need to get over to get yourself out there to jump over the hurdles. And just one of the things I found recently is I just pretend the hurdle doesn't exist. I'm like, oh, I might feel really uncomfortable with this, but I'm gonna pretend like I don't. I'm gonna
Right. Yeah, move
pretend.
through the discomfort.
Yeah, I'm just gonna see that I'm uncomfortable, and I'm just gonna let it be uncomfortable, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna still do the thing
It's
while I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's so hard to follow your own advice sometimes because 'cause I've definitely said exactly these things to other people where I'm like, "Yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable and growth is uncomfortable, and if you're feeling nervous/excited with a touch of imposter syndrome, that's a sign that you're on the right track and that you're doing something worth doing. So lean into that feeling and just go for it,
Exactly.
which is easier said than done. I don't expect anyone to be able to take it on effortlessly. And the same goes for me. So thank you for that reminder. I guess I needed to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I also really look at like the what are you doing well, and don't forget to count that. Don't forget to count what you're doing well, right? Like
Hmm.
the other thing that a friend of mine has been doing too that you can use, this just popped in my head, so I'm going to share it. And that is,
Hmm.
she has a couple of clients that she's giving the stuff for free to, like so that they can experience it a little bit, and then they can share it with a couple of friends. And that has been opening some big crazy doors for her. So the other thing that just also popped in my head, knowing who you're working with, right? Knowing your clientele, you may want to reach out to a couple of your domestic violence shelters
Hmm.
with your flyer and your information. Offer to do a talk, offer to do a presentation, offer to do a workshop there that they run and take most of the money for them, right? Like, so they get to know you as a marketing technique. And then when you are
Right.
inside that domestic violence shelter, and they get to know you and they get to trust you, and then you're running your own program that they're not taking most of the money from, right? Like,
Right.
or you then use that as a springboard to be able to be like, and then they start referring to you, because there are only so many sessions that are given for free by the government. And I know in a domestic
Mhm.
here in the Pennsylvania, we have like a victim services, which is different than domestic violence, but like victim services, you're only given 6 free sessions in
Mhm.
therapy when you're a victim of a crime, and 6 is not nearly enough to unpack being a victim of a crime. And
Too
I
much.
don't know how many sessions you get at a domestic violence shelter, but I think those only go to the people who are in the shelter, but there's also like group work and stuff. And so you might
Mhm.
be able to like offer some presentations, because you're not offering yourself as an expert necessarily, but you're offering yourself
Mhm.
as a survivor guiding survivors.
Right, exactly. That's actually a really great segue into I do have one thing in the works that
There.
I would like to plug for a moment if I may.
Absolutely. Plug
Um,
all the things.
so I have created a beta program where I will be offering 8-week group sessions
Mhm.
um, for a very, very discounted price. So normally my program is high ticket. It's one-on-one. It's very personal, very catered to my individual client and what they need. Um, but this one is it's more group oriented where we support each other. So you don't get as much one-on-one attention, but in exchange for feedback and a testimonial, you only pay $200 instead
Oh,
of 10 times that much. So
yeah.
it's a massive discount and a really great value and it's one of those win-win situations for everybody. So for people who are interested in that, all they have to do is sign up with their email on my website, and I will send out an invitation to anyone who is interested. And you can take it or leave it. It has a description of my program and what you can expect to get out of it,
Right.
and what you're expected to put into it, also, because
Exactly.
yeah, it takes work.
It
But
does.
yeah, it's a whole support network. So if any listeners out there are interested in something like that, feel free to check out my website and sign up.
Yep.
And you can always book a call with me. That's always an option. It's a free transformation call. So I would spend the time listening to you, figuring out what you are looking to learn and what you are hoping to receive. And if I can't help you, then I can direct you to people who can. But the idea is that you would get some value out of that phone call absolutely free.
Right. Okay. Sounds
Okay,
great.
plug over. Thank you.
You're great. That's fine. Um, so I feel like you're more of a big picture person. It's like when you get the curriculum handed to you, you look at the overview map about where am I headed, and you don't necessarily look at all the daily
Mhm,
lesson plans. And I feel like that's where one
mhm.
of the things that's blocking you up is that you're like, I know what the big picture is, and I'm not sure how to get from here to there. And you're like, the inside the daily, like the macro stuff is where your brain really lights up. The
Mhm.
micro stuff is where you're like, I don't like this nitty gritty daily. Like I have 4 hours in my schedule. I don't know what I'm doing with today, and I feel like I'm wasting time. And so, um, I ask you to embrace all parts of your brain and realize that a
Mhm.
lost 4 hours isn't lost, and that
Okay.
just because you can't, the vision I have is like of the path being lit in front of your feet and not necessarily being given the whole journey ahead of you. And you know what the first three steps are. Like you're taking those first three steps. You know what you're doing in the next couple of steps. And there's a part of you that's like, okay, now that I know this, what's coming beyond what I can see, right? Like how do I grow? And
Right.
the answer is you just keep talking yourself up. Everywhere you can, you take the opportunity to share what you're doing
Mhm.
and trust that
Makes
you're
sense.
being supported as you do that.
I appreciate that. Thank you. That's a good reminder.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
hard
It is.
to
It's
keep
really
taking
hard.
those steps.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and sometimes it's
I
even
actually did.
go
Sorry?
ahead. I was going to say sometimes it's even hard to like even when you know what is the right action to take, what is the next step to take, it's sometimes really hard to pick up your
Mhm.
foot and even just take that step. So, yeah, if you're
Mhm.
taking the little small steps, I would I would be sure to celebrate the small steps.
Yeah, for sure. I actually did have a coach talk to me a little while ago, and I was telling her about my own, setbacks and frustrations. We support each other. And she just looked at me and was like, "Are you neurodivergent?"
Oh.
And I've never been diagnosed, but I've had more than a few people over the years tell me that I probably have ADHD. Because she said, what it sounds like you're doing is you're having ADHD burnout combined with hyperfocus. And so, like, the combination of the two makes it really hard to take little steps every day. You like sprint one day and then just
Mhm.
completely fall flat the next. So, like, finding finding a way to keep going or get rid of that paralysis that can kick in, because when I'm in hyperfocus, like, I can go, like, I can really go and get
It's
all detail oriented and just not even think about anything else until this thing is accomplished, which is great. But yeah, the ebb and flow of that has been especially tricky to navigate. And I think it's become more apparent in this newer realm as opposed to what's already been familiar and figured out.
Yeah, and I really see you using those skills as a substitute teacher, actually, because you're like, I'm here for 8 hours. I'm just going to plug right through. And then when you get done substitute teaching, you're like, I'm exhausted. I'm done. And you're like, I worked for the day, right?
Right?
And
Oh
you
yeah, that
did.
sounds about
You
right.
did work for the day. That is not a lie. Substitute teaching is not for the faint of heart. However,
Mhm.
um, there is another part of your brain that then says, yeah, you didn't work for yourself today. You didn't do anything for comfort today, so you didn't actually work. And then you beat yourself up for not doing anything with the day when you actually use the day to make money so you can live to do the things for comfort.
Yep. That sounds like life in general. Just we
Yeah,
live to work, and then when we're done working, that's the time to focus on ourselves and promote and build and grow and all the things that, make our lives rich and meaningful. And by the time we get to that point, it's we're already exhausted
exactly.
from
And then we're
working all day.
already exhausted. So,
Hmm.
comfort, I encourage you to find ways to. I feel like the other thing that popped in my head was like they were like, "Hello, can you remember that it's summertime?" I'm like, "Oh, right, it's summertime," which means that you're probably not substituting very much right now. I mean, you could,
No, there's a summer school nearby, but jobs are limited. So
right? I was going to say there's
yeah.
probably summer school, but then that you might not be doing that. So, um, I would say, right, like as you're facing your summer, I'm also sensing it's coming up from the floor for me. It's coming up from the floor and hitting my root chakra, and that is the fear of money and how does money work while money's not coming in. Right, this summer, right, a little bit of like, but I also feel like it's like, how do I get money coming in for my business, and how do I make this sustainable so I don't have to worry about this for next year, and how do I make sure that I'm able to keep this going? And so I just want to remind you that like this is all a process.
Yeah.
And as you move forward, like as you're moving forward, you will grow. And as you let go of things, right? As you're letting go and picking up, right? You will have a good balance. It's a little bit more stressful in the summer where there isn't that like cushion that you feel the rest of the school year. But in a way, the summer is going to be really good if you use it for the promotion you're imagining.
Hmm.
This will
Yeah,
allow
that
you
makes
more time to get into specific places where you can find your clients directly to their face.
sense. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Anything else you want to add for my listeners about like you yourself? Anything about where to find you?
Well, I've already mentioned my website. Well, you did, and my social media, and I plugged my beta program. So, just a reminder: if you are interested um, in having a conversation, if you're interested in learning more about my work, feel free to hop on my website at comfortcoaching.net. And if you're interested in the beta program, be sure to sign up with your email, and I'll get you an invitation.
Sounds great. I'm so excited.
Thank you. I'm excited too.